want to fit this lock to the body. This place is quite dark, they just see the light. So you're going to take your clips and you're going to clip it like this. You arrange them in place like this. Okay, now you're going to take this lock that is going to be on the body, then you slide it like this, right? You can remove your flap, okay, then you slide it in that direction of the mark that you've gotten. Or another method is you can just clip it in place like this. You pass your lock via this hole like this. Okay, you're going to pass your lock like this. Let me just lock it in place. Then I'm going to take my clips. I'm going to take my clips just to set it in place like this. Make sure it's well set. Okay, make sure this tip is at this edge of it. Then I'll just get some mark. It's another method. This place is quite dark, so I'll get some mark. So where the props it, I don't know if you can see it, just get some mark. I advise you use something that is very, very obvious. I advise you use a pen, something that is that will make it very obvious. So I'm just going to cut on this. So I'm trying to fix the lock now. To make it extra secured, I'm just going to add some super glue to it. Alright, then you take your your tape, just hold it in place. This, and I will cut. To secure it, I'm just going to put a bit of glue here. Be careful not to stain your work. This is just to secure it in place. To fix the magnetic snaps, I want to fix the lining on the flap first. Okay, when you want to fix your magnetic snaps on the flap, you use the lining, you don't use the external. Take notice of that so you don't go and make mistakes. On the body, you fix it on the body without the lining. Okay, very, very important thing to take notice of. Before we fix the magnetic snaps, I'm going to be fixing the handle, do some other stuff, okay, like fixing the D-ring holder to the gusset before we actually fix the lining. Alright, you're going to use this to cut out two exterior, and this is for the D-ring holder. So I'm going to be using these two now. So to get this pattern, to get this PDF pattern, just go to the link on the description box to get all of these patterns. The D-ring holder, I have two that's going to be on the handle and two that's going to be on the gusset. I will need 4 of these. So this is going to be at the top. We also need extra 2 that is going to be at the gusset. So I'm actually this fast because it's getting dark. Alright, so I'm just going to use this to cut out 2 before we cut out the gusset. So I'm going to place it here. I'm going to place it here. So cut out 2 of these. I'm just going to straighten this out, okay? Just straighten. Straighten this out. Then I'm going to cut them out. What is time safe? This is orange. So guys, I'm sorry, it's actually dark and I need to film cuts. So this is an interfacing I'm cutting out. So I'm using a leather board. So some people will ask if this interfacing can be alternated for Marco. Of course, you can use Marco to interface this. So if you're a beginner, I would advise you use a Marco that is very light in thickness, so that when it comes to sewing, you don't start having issues with sewing. Okay, especially when you're using a domestic machine. For now, we'll be using domestic machine for all our bags. And I know most of you, it's hard for you to afford the cylinder or the industrial machine. This is how it's going to be. This is going to be. If you notice that it doesn't fit to the width of this, because by the time we wrap this with Ankara, it's going to be thicker. It's going to be thicker than this, so it's going to cover everything. Just make sure you get the pattern, measurement, the direction, everything you need to know is in that PDF pattern. Now I'm going to be wrapping this with this particular fabric here. This is the PDF pattern for the gusset. So I'm going to place it on the leather, the same leather I've used for this. Okay, it's what I'm going to be using for my interfacing. So for this, you can use your Decover light. You can use your EVA foam of about 1 mm, 1 millimeters for the side, the gusset of your bag. If you don't want it to be that thick. So I'm always very considerate when it comes to people who use domestic machines to make their bags. I know it's going to be a bit difficult and challenging for them. So I advise you start with something very, very light so you don't start having issues. So now I'm just going to measure the gusset out. We need about 2 of these. I'm cutting out 2 gussets. So I'm going to do this. You can see I'm taking my time to do this. Everything you need to know, the guidance, the direction, is already on the PDF pattern. Take your ruler and straighten these lines out. Okay. Right now I'm so fast because it's getting dark. So if I'm saying garbage, just bear with me. I just want to finish a particular stuff before we stop. So I'm just trying to straighten the lines out, as you can see. So I'm going to be cutting on these lines. So probably the other one I'm going to be cutting out. I'll do it off cam, but this I'm just going to cut. And I'll do the other one off camera. So what I usually do, the way I cut in the middle of the line. So just cut in the middle of the line, so you don't have to start having issue. I know some persons who find it difficult to cut. So you don't have to cut beside the line or inside the line. Just cut in the midpoint. This midpoint I'm cutting on. You can see. Just watch the video. Make sure you understand it. I'm just going to cut. So once I finish cutting this, the second gusset, because we need 2 gussets for this bag, I'm going to be doing that off camera. So just make sure you understand it. If you don't understand this one, go back to this video again and watch it. Basically cutting the middle point on the center of the line. So we have 1 of it. I need 2 of this. So I actually did this off cam. So this is the parts that we need to get now. We need 2 of them. So just going to straighten this out. So I'm just going to cut on the line. So I'm going to be using this pleat for the gusset, to wrap the gusset. I'm going to be using this green jean material for the handle of the bag. So I'm just going to apply some adhesive contact on this. Then I will start wrapping now. I have my brush, okay, and I have my adhesive contact gum. So it's still kind of very dark. So I'm just going to apply some. For this adhesive contact gum, I don't know if it's something that you can order online. I think you have it on Amazon, on AliExpress, on eBay, and some other online stores. So just check for adhesive contact gum. And even people who make chairs, furniture makers, they use it as well. You can make inquiries. So I've applied some gum, just a bit. I just leave it aside for 10 minutes for it to get dry. I'll do the same thing here, then use this fabric. Now this Ankara print, this is 100% cotton. I use genuine Ankara for my work. Now the right side of the Ankara, the fine side, okay, the shiny side is down. This is the part facing down, and the wrong side, okay, the side that is not fine, is the part. This is the part, yeah, the part facing up. So you let this to dry for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to place it. Okay, the reason why you let it dry for 10 minutes is because you don't want the cutter cement to stain your work, and you also want it to stick well. So these are tricks that you should know. If you are going to be working with Ankara, there are things you should know. So you don't just say because you have idea of using leather to make bags, you want to do the same thing with Ankara. There are some things I wouldn't want to measure yet, except you register for the online class. Okay, now I'm just going to take it now, and I'll smoothen it out to prevent it having some wrinkles. Smoothing it out. Okay, now I'm going to turn it like this, and kind of the excess is too much, I'll trim a bit out. You always leave some excess, about ½ inch, okay, because it's on, you don't want the raw edges to be seen, and also because we're going to be folding it in. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this contact adhesive gum and just apply on the edge, then leave it to dry for 10 good minutes. We are still on the gusset. I've applied gum. Now I use my finger, it's faster for me. If it's something that is irritating to you, something that is disgusting you don't want, just look for a tiny brush and just apply gum on the edges. So I like using my finger because it's faster for me and more convenient for me. Before I start wrapping, I'm just going to trim this off a bit like this. Okay, then I will cut a notch close to it so that it will be easy for me when I'm trying to fold it, because I'm going to be folding it like this, okay, and like this. So that is what I do. You can also apply the same trick to your leather. If you are using your vinyl or you are using a synthetic leather, you also apply this method to it. Now I'm just going to start folding. Okay, now you can decide to do this first and just continue it. Okay, sorry again, it's dark here, but I have to film this. So you see this part, I'm just going to trim it off like this. This part, trim it off. Just do. So if you want to use your vinyl, or you are the type of person who like using vinyl, or the type of person who like using synthetic leather to make bags, you can check the link in the description box to get a link that will lead you to where you can access that particular video. Yes, you can access the video. So I'm just going to trim all of this off. So if you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. And don't forget that we have online class. If you want a very detailed teaching and a follow-up, you can register for the online class. Now I've done the first part of the gusset. Okay, I've done the first part. I'm going to do this part off cam so that it's not going to be too long, and because it's dark, I wouldn't want to waste your time. now I'm trying to apply gum on the D-ring holder. So I have 4 of them. 2 of them are going to be at the top part of the bag that is going to carry the handle. The remaining 2 are going to be on the gusset. So yeah, using the same size of D-ring, so that's why I'm using. That's why I cut out 4 of these. Okay, so I'm just going to apply gum on 4 of them, then wrap them with the Ankara print or the fabric I want to use. For the 4 of them, I'm using the gray fabric. I'm not using Ankara print. I'm using the gray fabric for them. 1, just this out. Them trim them one after the other. I'll trim a bit of the fabric away so it will be more convenient for me to work with. In this case, I like applying gum on the entire part because the space is small, so you can apply like this. Okay. Apply like this. I'll be able to apply gum to the 4 of them. So I'm just going to let it dry. I'm just going to let it dry for a while. Then I'll wrap. Wrap it. Wrap it. Okay. It. So I'm just folding the excess in. So I want to advise you, men, I'm sorry it's getting stained because it's gone on my hand. I'm going to remove it later once it has dried. And what I want to explain is this. Once you've wrapped it like this part of it, I'm just going to cut it off. Cut this off. Okay, I'll cut this part off. Okay. If you noticed, I've fixed this part. Okay, I want to do it here now. Please pay attention. I want to cut. I'm going to use my ruler and my blade for cutting. I'm going to place the ruler at that point. I will start from that horizontal line and end at this line. So make sure you use a very sharp blade. I'll cut like 2 to 3 times so it can enter. I'll now use my scissors to emphasize the cut. Okay. So it's not opening. I just make it very obvious by using the scissors, but do not cut beyond the line. Do not come beyond the line. Turn it like this. And I'm going to take it. Most time, if I want to put it, I'll just bend it like this, so it will be easy for me to pass through. If it's not coming out, just bring a bit out. So I'll bring a bit out, or you can use your hand to just pull it out. It's going to come like this. So when you put it, it comes this way, not like this, please. It comes this way. It comes to the shorter edge. Okay, this edge. This is the shorter edge, not on this edge. It comes like this. Okay, so you can position it in place like this. You arrange it and make sure it's well aligned. Then you take it to the sewing machine. You sew very close to it just to secure it in place. So very close to the edge. So make sure it's so close to the edge. Okay, so I'll back stitch like 2 to 3 times so it can be strong. Remember, we are going to be attaching our handle to this particular point. Okay, so you will not want it to get caught by the time you put heavy loads on it. So it's not a bag for putting heavy load or heavy stuff. I'm just assuming that when you put heavy stuff on it, you will not want the handle to get caught, right? So you will have to back stitch to secure it in place. So do it as much as you can for safety reason. So I'll do it once more, then I will cut the thread off. Then let me just do it once more. And you can bond the stitch. This way is going to carry the handle of the bag. Place it like this. Okay, if you don't want this to be seen, you can as well do something like this. Okay, you cut a hole and put it inside, just the same way I did this. Okay, I will stitch in a rectangular form on the machine. So we'll take it to the sewing machine. So let's start in from here, from the down here. So to go gently. So this is how far it can go, because this place is a bit thick, so I'm not going to force it. Just make sure you're getting a straight walk. If you know you cannot get it straight, you can draw a line, like a rectangular line. Okay. So I'm going to repeat that process again, just to make it strong. So at this point, I'm going to back stitch. So on this particular one, you can interface it with your light decover. You can also use your EVA foam, okay? I'm being careful to get like a perfect stitch. I make sure that I follow the line. So if you are sewing in the second time, it's going to be easy since you've pushed already with the needle, with the matching needle. It's going to be easier for you. Back stitch. I've gone around it the second time. Just back stitch. If you want your work to be very neat, you can just leave the thread instead of back stitching to roughen your work. You can just leave it and pass it to the down. I should have used my green thread. This is a green fabric that can match with this. Okay, this black thread is not actually doing justice to the beauty of this. Always use a matching thread to the fabric you are sewing, except you want a contrasting work. Okay, so I'm just going to cut. All right, if you don't want your work to be too ruffled, you can pass this long thread to the down and tie it at the down instead of back stitching. So I'm just going to cut.